There are more foreigners in wrong places in Nigeria in hundreds of thousands by the day, just in search of solid mineral resources for themselves. But there are individual Nigerians who are standing in for them. And there are hundreds of thousands of whites who sit with Boko Haram, who feed Boko Haram. They share common food. They recharge their batteries for their telephones.
NGOs, there are so many things. If we want to go into NGO issues, there are so many things I had. Initially, when the NGOs came in, when we started, they didn't want any oversight function. They didn't want us to know where they were going to. We had issues with that because now they will go into the enclave of the terrorists and go and treat them. You are treating the same people that is attacking the communities. You tell them no, that you are neutral. How neutral can you be?
And one shameful thing I will tell you, I wish we have satellite so we can say, okay, spend 1 week in looking at the activities of foreigners in Nigeria. There are more foreigners in wrong places in Nigeria in hundreds of thousands by the day, just in search of solid mineral resources for themselves. But there are individual Nigerians who are standing in for them. I tell you today, with all sense of humility, none part of our borders is fully manned. There is no port today in Nigeria that can say, we have inspected all the containers coming to us and we issue them certificate of being arms free. None. I challenge you, none. It was of recent that some of us, one of the answers I can give you that may shock you is to start by looking at the histories of rigging activities in Nigeria. Rigging brought so many desperados in politics into importing arms and arming their own thugs to fight another party or other thugs across Nigeria. And when it started in the late 70s, nobody checkmated that.
This is what they do. These are people from Fiayambi.
We have satellite so we can say, okay, spend 1 week in looking at the activities of foreigners in Nigeria. There are more foreigners in wrong places in Nigeria in hundreds of thousands by the day, just in search of solid mineral resources for themselves. But there are individual Nigerians who are standing in for them. And there are hundreds of thousands of whites who sit with Boko Haram, who feed Boko Haram. They share common food. They recharge their batteries for their telephones, for their laptops, with which they have been communicated to by hostile international bodies in dealing with the same Nigeria. And such international hostile bodies are also patronizing your oil and your natural resources. And to you, it is right. And one disturbing thing we discovered is that the whole world over, anywhere you go, a foreigner has some no-go areas in that country. There are places you cannot go, but only in Nigeria. The citizen has some no-go areas. The foreigner has everywhere to go to. Only in Nigeria, failure of institutions, lack of foresight, lack of laws, lack of law enforcement, lack of knowledge in our law enforcement, lack of patriotism in our leaders or in some of our leaders at all sub levels that are entrusted to provide leadership. Meaning, once you have the leadership in Nigeria, you are just coming to do labor work in a scientific manner, carrying all along. That's why I can say at this point to tell you, any person that lacks the wherewithal, the energy, the vision, the capacity, the patriotism, any person who has stolen yesterday and coming to say, I have repented and I'm coming to provide leadership, that is deceit. Don't accept such a person. And I'm not campaigning. I'm not telling people to look for who, but I'm telling you there are numerous qualities to look for. But people with such qualities that are in the rest, if only Nigerians know, they should know that these are fake people. They are coming in to give you the worst that we are in.
NGOs, there are so many things. If we want to go into NGO issues, there are so many things I had. Initially, when the NGOs came in, when we started, They didn't want any oversight function. They didn't want us to know where they were going to. We had issues with that because now they will go into the enclave of the terrorists and go and treat them. You are treating the same people that is attacking the communities. You tell them no, that you are neutral. How neutral can you be? We've had situations where allegations of arms, them conveying arms to us just to make sure that the war continues. We've had situations where they will tell you they are taking food to communities. Halfway, they tell you the trailer has broken down. By next morning, the trailer is empty. And that vehicle that is broken down, the driver will just go and drive it and take it back. So what had happened? You have funded those guys. You are taking care of them equally. We've had several situations like that. So we said, no, it can't continue like that. And that's why we insisted with the state government that, look, the state government must know what's going on. So if any NGO comes, it must be registered. We must monitor what's going on. We've had situations where NGOs will come in with unidentified individuals entering communities. You don't even know what they're doing. They don't have NGO ID cards. They are not part of the government. Who is taking them to? What are they going there for? And so by the time we started monitoring what they were doing, we noticed things started getting better. So which means something is going on somewhere. Because they come from all over the world and you don't know who is who. So that's why for every country, please regulate what the NGOs are doing, monitor what they're doing. Most times you hear them telling you that they spent $10 million, and then you wonder where. Most times the money is spent on themselves, on their luxuries. The hotels they stay, the vehicles they are using, and all those things. The locals don't benefit much from them. And yet this thing keeps on. I've told you, somebody will come and pay for a house for 10 years ahead. So what is he trying to tell you? This thing will never end until after 10 years, or maybe he will renew it. And again, I always remember that if there is peace and the threat level is low, one, they are going to retrench them. Two, their hazard allowance will reduce. How many of them will want that? We're not saying all of them are bad. No, some are really doing very well. Some are extremely doing very well. But again, please don't just assume they're just monitor what's going on, monitor what's being spent. I think it's important. I think we've dealt with the issue.
There's the last one of extermination of the...
when is it going to end? Maybe I should ask you, when is criminality going to end? It's something that we have to live. No, the truth about it is just something that's the new world order. And it's everywhere. In America, how many killings are going on? It's all acts of terrorism. It's going to be in every country. It is your ability to mitigate, to deal with it in such a way that it does not affect the normal lives of the people. But acts of criminality will continue. That is for sure. Countries that have not had it, please don't allow it to start. Whatever it takes, once they start, please nip it immediately in the bud. It's very important. And what does it take? Monitoring. Monitoring is good. Law enforcement, legal system. These are areas that we are having a lot of challenges. Most times you even arrest these people, there is no legal law to deal with them. You are left with the people to deal with. It's a big issue. And because they know that, they too leverage on those aspects. So I think that's why it's important. Like we said, it's a whole of society approach to addressing asymmetric warfare. Thank you.
Thank you very much, General. We
advise individuals that you invite somebody to your community for whatever reason. You don't know them, they don't speak your language. You brought them across from international borders. You give them refuge. They stayed with you. They had a sharing formula for them to be with you, and then suddenly you stop giving them what they wanted. The tendency is next, they want to start asking by force. That was exactly what happened with the Lakrawas. They are from Niger, they don't even speak Nigerian language, they are not Nigerians at all. But the locals felt comfortable with them, thinking that they are one of the same. Maybe my religion, come here and help me. In case I'm going to be attacked, you can protect me. Then I'll be giving you this amount of money or giving you this support and all these things. And in fact, some of them, if you talk to them, the communities now, they tell you, no, they are very friendly. Because what they do is that they try to show you they're better opponents to the government. They bring out money, pay you money, give you food, give you this. Say, no, I'm with you, I'm here to protect you. Better than your government. But you know, it doesn't last. The romance doesn't last. After a while, they will show their true colors, and that's exactly what they did. Initially, again, when they came, they said they didn't have anything to do with Nigeria, that their problem was with Niger. So they were comfortable. And since their problem was with Niger, the locals felt comfortable with them. And when you come to ask them and say, no, there's nobody, we're all friends, they're all, because we share a very common border, like I said, with Niger, about 1,600 kilometers. Some houses, you see the sitting room is in Nigeria, the bedroom is in Niger. That is how close. We share common culture, tradition, religion together. So it makes it difficult even separating them. So even when you come as a visitor and you want to find out, they tell you, no, we're together, there's no problem. Until they started taxing them and they started killing them. That's when they now cried out. So efforts are being made now. Operations are ongoing to clear them up completely from the sovereign. And we're working together with Niger. Because normally, like I said, they don't respect any border. You come here, they move to the next country, and then when you leave, they come back. Now, we have 20 kilometers right of pursuit. The Nigerians are working together with us. So we're addressing it gradually. But like I said, it's a difficult operation because the only way you identify them is if you see them armed. Or else they're just like any other person. So if the villagers tell you they are our friends or they are our relations, what do you do? That's the difficulty in asymmetric warfare. But we're working on it, and then the intelligence agencies are equally down there following up the issue.
So before I even answer you, you also lost Bakassi completely and nobody is saying anything, including the Bar, National Bar Association of Nigeria. That is a monumental waste for numerous generations to come, looking at the resources on that island. If you can now talk about trillions of dollars from what is there, deposited from gas and oil, from the natural resources that supplies the fashion house in one of these NATO countries every year, and taking it away, and the country or the countries involved, Nigeria and Cameroon, are being left bare. We are busy borrowing while billions of dollars every year goes to such countries, and they are so heartless such that they are always happy to see us impoverished, and to see us begging, to see us taking loans, and they help in killing our institutions. They help citizenry in help to kill our institutions. To any person, any African, any Pan-African that will say, okay, let me take a look at these two countries. You go to the rural areas in Nigeria, you go to rural areas in Cameroon. At the end of the day, you will know that what is left of us in the definition true to itself of such a Pan-African who will look at Cameroon and look at the resources in Cameroon. Come to Nigeria, go around Nigeria, look at Nigeria from the other point of view, and look at the two together from the point of view of African spirit. Then you will know that either our elders who found themselves in power yesterday, or our elites who are in power today, or our younger ones who are well informed but they are in the unemployed world, or those who are in the either on the bar, or on the bench in our own judiciary, you will know that everything is wrong with all of us. Meaning you have all it takes to be and to be counted among the very first 10 in the whole world. But you are here sitting down there, and any tiny little force from anywhere will just come, take decisions that are regarded by any law as being extremely exploitative. And yet you accept it, and it goes, and you are busy complaining of lack of being. So to the very question you ask, and with the personalities involved, and today all I can ask is, where is the international law, and what were the rules expected of the international law? What was expected in our domestic laws in Nigeria? The question is, where is the case? And another question is, what are these forces that retarded it or kept it aside from being heard? And who are these Nigerians that are expected to speak out? Is it the human rights bodies, or is it the civil liberty organizations, or is it the CSOs in Nigeria? Or is it the Nigerian Bar Association? Or is it the bench itself? Or is it the African bench? Or is it the West African bench that are recognized? The matter, once it comes to the court, is a public issue. One you may ask is, where is it? Or is it that you have had an executive body as at the time it happened that was part of secretly, or that compromised it? So that's why in Nigeria, first thing first, is a revival of the institutions that you have, so that Nigeria can be seen to stand on her feet. An issue where the poorest of the poor can say, I belong to this country because I know there are arrangements in the institutions that govern Nigeria, that cares for me, that protects me, and that will help me. There, people will say, I have sense of belonging as a Nigerian. Then he can lean on to the country and give Nigeria its own services. Part of the breakages of your internal security problems today is simply because there is a wide gap between the have and the have not, being complemented by failure of institutions and then from the greed of some certain individuals who ordinarily are expected to be seen to be fathers of the country or mothers of the country, as the case may be. So failure to provide leadership at different strata in Nigeria's life promotes numerous things, including this particular question you asked of. You may ask 9 point something billion, and the question is, were you to be settled with the responsibility of investigating the contents, the genesis of the contracts, personalities involved, and then a certain fraction of it that permeated into pockets at home and outside Nigeria, you will realize that you have individuals who are bigger than your institutions, who are bigger than your country. One of the major causes of insurgency, because when an individual realizes that there is no hope in what he does, what he's saying, or what he anticipates to do to better himself, his country, his people, a collective interest of his tribe, of his religion, of his own region in the country, or of a certain research of students, of relationship between people whom he believed that his dream would be complemented from discoveries from them. And if we realize that that is dashed, then mankind has options to go beyond or outside the law and act. It is visible in every part of Nigeria you go today. From the unemployed Nigerians, the young, vibrant, innovative, who are highly creative, who are very promising Nigerians, highly intellectual, they are there roaming our streets. When a brain from a vibrant soul that is ready to create and to innovate and then is not being complemented, he sits and he can, anything negative comes his way, he may also be creative out of it, and that becomes a problem to the leadership to handle. And then if he sits down and realizes that he has all it takes to provide some certain innovative activities, particularly in the electronic world today, Nigerians elsewhere are doing quite a lot. And I met numerous younger ones who are ingenious and who are ready to create numerous things that will make them billionaires overnight. But in Nigeria, there are some certain people who are providing leadership in different strata, are always jealous of such innovative younger ones. And to us, part of our manifesto is to identify, to talent spot such persons and invest therefrom and giving them the opportunities to roll. We believe in the one saying, which is divine, and then also is the guiding factor to any activity of man in life, which says there is no end to possibilities in the life of man, in the life of a country, community, or committees of nation. It's God that said so. So if God has said so, and you are now depriving people of such opportunities, first of all, you are anti the Creator who set them forth to your country. None of us selected to say he consulted God Almighty before being created in Nigeria. We are all Nigerians by the wish of God. So you only woke up and saw yourself as a Nigerian, that is to say, your elders, your contemporaries, and your younger ones, and those yet to be born, in your own services, either sayings or actions, innovations or some certain creativities will come up, things that will complement the country and the people, including generations to come. The question you may ask yourself today, those in leadership, if you can assess them properly today, then the answer will be a sorry, regrettably, it will be a sorry response. Meaning, greed is the driving force to so many who found themselves in power. Unfortunately, it has become a culture. Rather than seeing yourself being opportunistic, if you are given the role to provide leadership to people. Providing leadership to the people alone allows your name to go into history. You become automatically a leader, and you can look in retrospect to say, that were the achievements we garnered for mankind yesterday when we had the opportunity. That alone presents you as an elder statesman. But in Nigeria, from our activities, it is evident that the definition of leadership has nothing to do with such services rendered. It is just seen from the point of view of one ugliest part of greed, meaning they found themselves in power and the opportunities open to them is to steal. And when they leave power, they are coming out super billionaires. And to them, that is the yardstick of being identified as an elder statesman. This is a reversal way of looking at issues in life. If this has been the trend in Nigeria, at least time has come to get.
I know I didn't cover it. I wanted somebody to ask so I can actually dwell in it.
Thank you, sir.
Let's start from the beginning. How did we get to the banditry? If we tell ourselves the truth, what is going on in the Northwest is the Hausa Fulani fight. You know, we don't mention it. That is the bottom line. The Fulani man feels anytime he comes to town, he's molested, he's killed. The Hausa man believes that the Fulani man, using his headsmen, enters his farm and destroys his crops. So it's been a long time, I'm sure you're aware, it's been a long time issue that had not been addressed. So it's a political issue that should have been settled before. It had been allowed until it evolved to what it is today. Now, acts of criminality now came in. When acts of criminality came in, they felt that now, because the borders, you know, I mentioned the issue of porous borders where weapons are moving in and out, and that's why they felt that, yes, since their cows have been attacked, they too should be protected. And that's why you see major of them carrying arms. And before you know it, those that didn't have cows started into acts of armed robbery, small stealing, until it graduated to what it is now. Then the Boko Haram, with the hit they got in the Northeast, a lot of them moved. So it's a convergence of criminality that has come together to build up to what the acts of banditry. And the only way they make money is what? Kidnapping. When they kidnap, they make money. Now, the state governments, yes, in order to address that, I personally support civilian JTF. We use them effectively in the Northeast. But how did we apply them in the Northwest? What we did, the communities were the ones that identified youths that had character, you know, that were reliable, that were honest. They brought out those names, gave the state government brought them in, profiled them with the police and the DSS, the State Security Service, and then they were now handed over to the military. They were trained with the mandate to protect their communities, not to go and attack any other person. Because one, the military, the armed forces, we are not many, we can't be everywhere. There is no country that have security forces everywhere. So their own intent is, the mandate for them is protect your community while the main forces are coming. So you delay them until that. And that's how we have used them. And frankly speaking, they've given us a lot of, because one, they know the areas very well. They know the area, they can tell you where IEDs are, which routes are clear and all this. And so we use that correct. But what we found out in the Northwest is a lot of this were not done. And the danger is, don't ever allow a training to be viewed, the perception of that using one ethnic group. Like I told you from beginning, the issues were Hausa, Fulani. Now, if you have civilian JTF that is only Hausa, what would the Fulani feel? He will feel threatened. And that is what is causing the problem. If you sit down now to look at in Katsina State, how many have been killed so far? Because one, they operate in Northeast, they operate with the security forces. There is no operation they don't go together. So the security forces will give them that experience and the tactics to use. In this other area, they want to go alone. And you know that they've started also vendetta, starting to also settle personal scores. So they've derailed from the main objective of protecting their communities to settling personal. Some of them now have started settling land issues, marital issues, things that are not part of what they are supposed to be, because again, they were not controlled. The civilian JTF in the Northeast knows if he commits an offense, he's going to face the law. So he is guided. So those are things that I think is important. That in the Northwest, go back and be able to do that. Dilute your groups. Don't make it one ethnic group. Because if you do it, if you either take Fulani alone or you take Hausa alone, you are creating problem. Give everybody equal opportunity to be part. Once they have a sense of belonging, they take ownership of it. And it makes it a lot easier for you. So I think it's very, very important. And with the mandate, protect your communities. I think that's very critical. So if we're able to do that, I can assure you, you'll see it differently. And I've visited your governor not too long ago, and I'm happy the way he's approaching it. But the important thing that I think is missing is the aspect of cooperating together with the armed forces. We must work together because the common enemy we're dealing with. If you deal with them in isolation, you can't withstand because the experience and the practice of those civilian jets cannot withstand those guys. So I think that's very critical for us to be able to address.